Did you know that one of the most popular comic book characters in this day and age, Harley Quinn, was created as a throwaway henchwoman for an episode of Batman the Animated Series in the 1990s? She had originally been intended to be a one-and-done character, but the performance of voice actress Arlene Sorkin, coupled with Bruce Timm's character design and Paul Dini's script, made her a near-instant fan favourite. She was the Joker's sidekick, but over time a deeply tragic element was added to her character via her unending devotion to the Joker. Despite the odd moment of affection, in reality the Joker didn't care about her at all. She was just another tool in his arsenal. As one of the premier supervillains, the Joker was selfish, arrogant, and completely incapable of loving anyone other than himself. He was the epitome of evil, as I discussed in a separate video, which you should totally watch if you haven't already. And every time he lashed out at Harley, both verbally and physically, it made her redouble her efforts to please him. In short, she was a codependent doormat, a self-blaming victim, with low to no self-esteem. And viewers loved her for it. The thing was, we felt sympathy for her, and wanted her to break free from the Joker and be her own person, and viewers weren't alone in that. As her popularity grew, writers and artists tried to move her away from her status as a victim, including her co-creators Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. And that's what I want to talk about today, how in the last 30 years, Harley Quinn's character has developed. Let's kick things off by talking about the original Harley Quinn as seen in Batman the Animated Series. As I alluded to earlier, at first she was just a supportive henchwench for the Joker. According to Mark Hamill, early drafts of the script didn't even name her. She referred to the Joker as her boss and acted as a cheerleader for him, almost like she was more of a fan than a lover. Over time, their relationship changed and she was presented as the Joker's girlfriend, rather than a follower. And therein lies the tragedy. Harley just couldn't, or wouldn't, see that the Joker didn't really care for her at all. She ignored all of the evidence in front of her eyes because she desperately wanted him to love her. Case in point in the episode Harlequinade, when the Joker planned to detonate an atomic bomb in Gotham, obliterating the millions of people that lived there, he didn't even think to get Harley out of harm's way. Fortunately, she had been tracking him down with Batman, but when Harley turned up he realised that he hadn't even considered what might have happened to her. Not that he seemed too worked up about it. When Harley points out that her friends in Arkham and their beloved pet hyenas will also be caught in the blast, the Joker doesn't care. He simply abandons her and continues with his plan, leaving her to die. Even when his scheme was foiled and a furious Harley threatened to end his life, the Joker didn't believe that Harley was capable of harming him. She's too soft, too cowardly, too weak. It's fortunate then that Harley had inadvertently armed herself with a prop machine gun, otherwise she would have shot him. Rather than responding with violence or anger, the Joker simply says that she's the greatest and offers a hug. And just like that, all is forgiven and she runs back into his arms. This isn't the first time that this has happened, of course. During the episode Harley and Ivy, when Harley Quinn makes a name for herself separate from the Joker by pairing up with Poison Ivy. Keep that in mind for the future. The Joker speaks to her sweetly, acting as if he wanted to reconcile when really all he wanted was her loot. Even after demonstrating who he really was and how little he cared for her, Harley would go back to him, making excuses for his behaviour. At the end of Harley and Ivy, when the trio are back in Arkham, the Joker bellows that there will be no more women in his gang. Upon hearing this, Harley turns to Ivy and says she thinks he's getting better. The Joker would also betray Harley, as seen during the episode Trial, when District Attorney Van Dorn revealed that when Harley last escaped, the Joker gave her up in the hopes of getting his sentence reduced, which Harley did not take well, although she quickly forgave him. And I will say that these later episodes of BTAS, particularly when the show was rebranded to The Adventures of Batman and Robin, and the follow-up show The New Batman Adventures, tried to balance the scales, with Harley attacking the Joker every now and then. While she's justified in dishing out some violence, it's not exactly a healthy response. It wouldn't be until the episode Harley's Holiday that we would see a Harley Quinn-centric story that focused on her as a character, with no Joker or Poison Ivy in sight. This is arguably the best Harley Quinn story, as I discussed in a recent video, so add that to your watch later list too if you haven't seen it already. While this was one of the more comedic episodes of the show, it was underpinned by tragedy. The fact that despite her best efforts, she was seemingly incapable of functioning as a person in the real world. Despite being given a clean bill of mental health from Arkham Asylum, Harleen crumbled at the first sign of conflict, after a misunderstanding in a department store, and reverted to her criminal ways. She was just too damaged. Harley's backstory wouldn't be expanded upon until 1997's The New Batman Adventures in the episode Mad Love. Although note that this was an adaptation of a comic book written by Paul Dini and illustrated by Bruce Timm in 1993. Harley had once been a promising psychiatrist working at Arkham Asylum. She was the Joker's psychiatrist, in fact, but he saw her inexperience and vulnerability and exploited her emotionally. He pretended that he had been the victim of an abusive father and was currently the victim of Batman's aggressions. He painted himself as a sympathetic, misunderstood figure, and Harley fell for it. When he escaped from Arkham, possibly with her help, and Batman returned him battered and bruised, she had an unprofessional emotional outburst that tipped her over the edge, and Harley Quinn was born. Just how did the Joker repay Harley for her giving up her life and career for him? He shoved her out of a window, breaking multiple bones. Harley swore that this would be the end of their relationship, but all it took to win her back was a simple note and a rose. While Harley's partnership with Poison Ivy continued, as seen in the TNBA episode Girls' Night Out and the Static Shock episode Hard as Nails, the Joker was still her primary partner, even after he left her to rot in Arkham in Joker's Millions. Harley's obsession with the Joker only ended when he died, as seen during the flashback in Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. Although, with how her granddaughters turned out, I have doubts about if she actually reformed or not. The original Harley has made appearances without the Joker, most notably in the Flash animation series Gotham Girls and 2017's Batman and Harley Quinn direct-to-DVD movie. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten they exist, but they are out of scope for this video. The second iteration of Harley Quinn, as she appeared in 2004's The Batman, was a sincere attempt at making the Joker and Harley's relationship less abusive. Paul Dini returned to write a brand new origin, one where a struggling TV psychologist falls for the Joker, and he's pretty keen on her too. Well, as keen as someone like him can be. Their Harleen Quinzel was immoral. She claimed to have a degree in psychology, but there are doubts as to the quality of her education based on the crummy advice she gives. And she lured Bruce Wayne onto her show on the pretense of promoting one of his charities, when really it was a platform for her to gossip. This deception led to her show being cancelled. After all, Bruce Wayne was one of Gotham's most prominent citizens. Fortunately, she had a high-profile fan, the Joker. Initially, Harley started working with him because she thought an expose on the Joker would revive her career, but spending time in his company, taking part in the kind of hijinks that he engaged in, had an effect on her. When her former employers teased running an expose on her, she tried to blow up the building to stop them. Oh, the irony, the exposer objecting to being exposed. Of course, Batman, Robin and Batgirl foiled this attempt after the Joker abandoned her, leaving her trapped in the burning building. And she swore off ever working with the Joker again, till she saw he had left her an encouraging note on a whoopee cushion. And so she was back to square one. From this point on, she was mostly presented as the Joker's assistant, always there to help him out alongside his faithful burly henchman, Punch and Judy, and was not given the spotlight again. It is worth noting that this Joker did not abuse her, although he was a bit negligent, but the two genuinely seemed to like each other. Without this conflict though, she became relegated to the background, forever outshined by the Joker. And this was an important step in how her character would evolve over time. In the next significant Batman cartoon, 2008's Batman the Brave and the Bold, Harley Quinn had a fairly radical visual redesign, presenting her as a black and white 1920s flapper, rather than a jester. While she makes a few background appearances, including a cameo in the Batman the Brave and the Bold Scooby-Doo movie, she had one significant appearance in the episode Emperor Joker. In this story, Batmite accidentally gives his powers to the Joker, who uses his colossal new abilities to torture Batman to death over and over again. Harley's role is relatively small. This story is mostly about Batmite and the Joker, but I really wanted to call out this striking design. I'm a big fan of it, even if her characterization as one of the Joker's silent movie-themed henchpeople is fairly modest. Although I did like how, after the Joker silenced Harley, making her words appear on cards, like in a silent movie, Batmite weaponized them. Very funny. In 2016, two other animated series aired in which she appeared, DC Superhero Girls and Justice League Action, and they have a very similar approach to the Joker and Harley's relationship. In both shows, they never had one. Although it is worth noting that by the time of 2019's version of DC Superhero Girls, which was a soft reboot that attempted to make the earlier series a more popular franchise, they introduced a teenage Joker who was Harley's boyfriend. Given the target audience, there was nothing to suggest that their relationship was abusive. Again, these shows aren't significant in the development of Harley Quinn, but I know that they have their fans. See also Teen Titans Go's Harley Quinn. Conversely, one show that is very significant in developing the characterization of Harley Quinn is, perhaps unsurprisingly, 2020's Harley Quinn. The show shares a lot of visual cues from DC's New 52 rebranding, which placed Harley Quinn front and center, making her one of their biggest characters. These are the comics that changed Harley Quinn's origin, making it so that she was dunked in the same chemicals that created the Joker, bleaching her skin white, making their connection even deeper. Which is ironic because the point of this series was to define her as an independent character, away from the abusive relationship with the Joker, and the Harley Quinn show takes exactly the same approach. They don't try to hide that their relationship happened or present her as a strong heroic figure. Instead, she's a woman that is trying to find her place in the world after a bad breakup. Initially, she wants to be part of the Legion of Doom to prove to the world that there's more to her than being the Joker's sidekick, although really she's trying to prove it to herself more than anyone else. Sadly, she finds that there is a glass ceiling that she just can't get through. So she sets out to create her own gang consisting of other overlooked villains like King Shark, Dr. Psycho, Clayface, and Poison Ivy. And one of the things I find really interesting about this show's portrayal of Harley Quinn is how she always looks to fill the void in herself, her insecurities and doubts, by being around other people. At first it was the Joker, then it was the Legion of Doom, then her own gang and her subsequent romance with Poison Ivy, before she wound up joining the Bat family. I like how they take a cold, hard look at Harley, warts and all, and don't shy away from her flaws. She is needy, she is codependent, she's desperate to please people because she wants them to love and respect her. Maybe then she might love and respect herself. I enjoy this show, and I know that some dislike the fact that it's a comedy that mocks the source material at every opportunity it gets, but it clearly comes from a loving place. The show is a love letter to everything about Harley Quinn, and while she does seem to grow in the show, ultimately she just shifts her attention from one person, the Joker, to another, Poison Ivy. Fortunately, her relationship with Poison Ivy is more well adjusted than her relationship with the Joker was. And for viewers that criticise the fact that she is in a relationship with Poison Ivy, note that this was hinted at in Batman the Animated Series. I mean, did they really need to say it after the two were cohabiting and walking around half naked all the time? As an aside, in Harley and Ivy, writer Paul Dini had originally intended for the Joker to call Harley and Ivy a pair of busy beavers, but the network censors felt that was too on the nose, and so the line was changed to busy bees. While other shows had attempted to just gloss over the more negative traits in Harley Quinn's backstory, and the Harley Quinn series included her flaws and allowed her character to develop, for some, that still wasn't quite enough. Enter Bruce Timm once more with his bold reimagining of Harley Quinn for 2024's Batman Caped Crusader. Now, I have seen some people express frustration that Harley Quinn was changed too much. Why not just make a brand new character or apply this characterization to another character like Hugo Strange? Well, Harley Quinn is his co-creation. He can do with her whatever he wants. He and Paul Dini never imagined that she would become so prominent. She was just intended to be a henchwoman after all. So this was Tim's opportunity to rewrite her as a prominent villain. Ultimately, regardless of how you feel about this version, she is just that. Another version. She doesn't replace anything. It's not like Bruce Timm is going to come around all of our houses and burn our comics and DVDs. No, it's just a different take. Fundamentally, a lot of the same characteristics are still there. It's just some are given more prominence than others. For instance, her profession as a psychiatrist comes to the forefront. Dr. Harleen Quinzel is a prominent doctor that has a wealthy clientele, and when the GCPD wants to build a psychological profile on Batman, she is brought in. Her observations about Batman are entirely correct. He only harms the police if they get in his way. His targets are the criminals of Gotham, and he is driven by trauma. But Dr. Quinzel is also a fun person to be around. She's quite playful, clearly has a sense of humour, and is a good friend to Barbara Gordon. However, she has a secret, a dark side if you will. She is privy to the secrets of Gotham's elites. All the lawful but awful things they say, do and think are shared with her, and she can't stand the idea that these people are getting away with it. So she adopts a costumed identity of her own, based on her own Jungian psychological archetype, the Jester, and takes the law into her own hands. She breaks down her patients into their own Jungian archetypes, the ruler, the innocent, the sage, and brainwashes them into giving away their fortunes before ending their own lives. I had previously made a video specifically about Cape Crusader's Harley Quinn, where I go into this version of the character in more detail. Great, another video for you to add to your watch later list. But one thing I wanted to talk about is how this Harley Quinn is presented as a parallel to Batman. She even has her own version of the Batcave, except her playpen is a basement, complete with a butler of her own, another one of her patients who has been brainwashed. Like Batman, this Harley Quinn is on a crusade of her own to right wrongs. She believes that it's not right that people like this should have so much when they have been exploiting their employees. She wants to punish them because society has rewarded their awful behaviour. And I really like the fact that Harley identified her own Jungian archetype and goes along with it. Where Harleen Quinzel is bold and loud, Harley Quinn speaks in a whisper and hides in the darkness. She can be cruel and merciless, while at the same time quite clinical, keeping track of her patient's behaviour on her clipboard. She isn't afraid of using violence to achieve her aims either. Harley is completely unconnected to the Joker. Hell, at this point in the series, it's not clear if the Joker even exists yet. She wasn't some poor doctor that got way out of her depth or an insecure person that validates her own existence through the affections of others. She's confident and capable in her own right, and she's not a monster. When she realises that Barbara Gordon is in danger, she drops everything to go back and help her. Barbara is entirely innocent. She doesn't deserve to suffer. So Harley steps in, even though it may mean the end of their friendship. In fact, it means the end of Harley's life as she knew it. With her secret exposed, she couldn't possibly continue as she had been, and so she disappears. Now, before I finish up, I just wanted to briefly mention 2024's Suicide Squad Isekai. I don't really view this as being a relevant show to discuss, mostly because it felt like a completely different series about fantasy worlds that had DC supervillains randomly inserted into it. To me, it felt like a cynical attempt on Warner Brothers' part to get anime fans interested in their IP. But hey, maybe I'm the cynic. Regardless, their take on Harley Quinn didn't capture my imagination or really add very much. But if you feel differently, feel free to wax lyrical in the comments. So, in conclusion, I understand the concerns raised by some that if you remove intrinsic parts of Harley's character, namely her dependence on another person, be it the Joker or Poison Ivy, then she isn't really the same character. I don't agree, but I understand the argument, and I can see the appeal of Harley Quinn as a tragic figure, forever doomed to be stuck in an abusive relationship, and that would be perfectly fine for a character with a less high profile. But Harley Quinn is one of DC's biggest characters, and there is more to her than being an insecure victim. You can't really market her as a hero or even an anti-hero if her primary characteristic is being an abused partner. Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman are not defined by their weaknesses, and DC views Harley Quinn as their fourth big character, so they focus on her strengths. Her sense of humour, her sweet nature, and her propensity for slapstick violence. As Harley Quinn's popularity has increased over the years, different shows have taken different approaches to her problematic background. The Batman and Batman the Brave and the Bold glossed over that part of the Joker and Harley's relationship, making it less abusive. Meanwhile, some shows cut the Joker out entirely. The Harley Quinn series, meanwhile, doesn't shy away from her flaws. If anything, they're an important part of the show's narrative. However, that series had the luxury of dedicating every episode to Harley's growth and development over 4 seasons, which is something the other shows couldn't do. Harleen Quinzel only appeared a handful of times in Batman Cape Crusader, and her Harley Quinn persona only featured once, so it's kinda hard to judge her in the grand scheme of things, especially considering that there is a second season on the way. At the end of the day, I think that all of these different versions have their merits, but I don't think they'll ever top the original as seen in BTAS, because so much of the character's key building blocks were defined by that show. There is more to the character than her relationship with the Joker. It's her voice, her heart, and her spite. Okay, that's it for this week's essay. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, tell all your friends about me. You know how YouTube works. If you really enjoyed the video and have the means, please consider making use of the thanks button to send a buck or two my way, because every little helps. I offer channel memberships for $1.99 a month. This will get you early access to my weekly video essay, priority responses to your comments, members-only videos, custom emojis, and an icon on your profile indicating that you're one of my people. And special thanks to my current channel members, who are all listed on the screen right now. Next time I'm going to do one more villain comparison video for now, looking at my favourite Batman villain, Two-Face, a character that had been deemed too gruesome to appear outside of the comics until Batman the Animated Series came along. Hope to see you then.